Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory have been serving Quad City families and veterans since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds, and are proud supporters of WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.
Guns and politics, what a new state senator and backer of criminal reform in Illinois says about the new laws in the state and making your public television station stronger in the cities. We thank you for joining us for this locally produced public affairs program, the longest running such program on Quad Cities television, and it's thanks to your support. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, law and order, guns and opposition. A restraining order has been granted on the new state law that caps the sale of high-capacity ammunition magazines, switches that allow semi-automatic firearms to fire rounds automatically, and prevents people deemed dangerous from possessing a gun in the first place. The bill quickly passed the democratically controlled legislature, and it was signed by the Democratic governor. We talked with Democratic State Senator Mike Halpin from Rock Island. So there is federal lawsuits filed against the Illinois firearms ban. There is a restraining order, temporary restraining order, totally expected, I'm sure, by lawmakers. Tell me why this ban is so important.
Well, you know, this is an issue that's really been a divisive one for my district. I went throughout last year's campaign, knocked a lot of doors, and there wasn't a lot of support for it. So I was actually a vote against that bill in the House, in part because of what my constituents were telling me, but also because of the legal issue where there's a very good chance that the courts may find it unconstitutional. So I would certainly prefer to see something done on the federal level, particularly being in a border state here in Illinois. It's very difficult for people to have a certain set of rules on this side of the river and then a completely different arrangement over in Iowa.
Very much so.
So I'm really kind of waiting to see what actually happens with the lawsuits and where do we go from there.
Personally, were you against it?
Yeah, you know, I think there are a lot of weapons out there that really aren't needed in day-to-day life. You don't need them to hunt or for personal protection. And as we see, these type of weapons have a huge impact in a lot of our communities. So it's an issue that I struggled with myself.
You are also the head of the Democratic Party in Rock Island County, and you do know that this is going to be tagged on Democrats being anti-Second Amendment, anti-guns.
Yep. We're certainly a very big party. We are a big tent party, and we have a lot of respect for folks with differing views within it. And we'll let obviously each voter make their own decision here. You know, as a party as a whole, we've taken positions on these issues, and yet we certainly continue to be supported and reelected in this area. So I'm confident that voters will be able to make good decisions. What I've always said is that you may not agree with me or any of our other Democratic candidates on every issue, but on a whole, the voters of this area do support Democrats and want to continue to see them governing, especially when you see the alternative.
You take a look at what's going on as far as the Democrats are concerned. You take the SAFETY Act from last year that you're trying to do some types of criminal reform, whether it is guns or whether it is cash bail. Tell me if you've rethought about your support of the SAFETY Act. And I know that the amendments during the lame duck, trying to make some corrections here. Do you think this is a law that's going to be strong? Do you think it was as strong as when you thought it when you voted for it the first time?
Yeah, so I think it was as fair as I thought it was when we voted on the first time. The importance to that was to pass a certification and decertification process for police officers, which they agreed to with the Attorney General's office, so that was part of the bill. And the second was the Pretrial Fairness Act, which talked about bail and making sure we're keeping people locked up based on threat and danger as opposed to how much money you have. And I think those two core features of the bill are still there. And I think those will be found constitutional. I know there's lawsuits on that. And so after we voted for the Original Safety Act, the priority for me was to make sure that we passed clarifying language to address some of the concerns that that voters brought up to me when they read the bill, and I believe we did that as well. We made it a better bill through those trailer bills, through those amendments. And so I think once the process plays out in the courts, we're going to see a better system for how we hold people pre-trial, and a better system for making sure we hold those very few bad officers accountable in the state of Illinois. There
is opposition, as you've heard, both to the assault rifle issue as well as the Safety Act from county prosecutors as well as county sheriffs saying that whether they're going to enforce the law or enforce it as rigorously as perhaps you would intend it to be. How dangerous do you see that?
You know, I'm not sure about dangerous, but I do believe that our law enforcement personnel, I mean, the system here in this country, in Illinois, is that the laws are presumed constitutional, and we let the courts figure that part out. And so to say that you're actively not going to enforce the law, I don't support that. The law itself doesn't require our state's attorneys or sheriffs to go out door to door and ensure that people are complying with it. But if you get stopped and you've done something that's against either one of these, you know, the sheriff or the state's attorney should be enforcing it at that point. And again, the courts are doing their thing. There's a current stay on enforcement of the Safety Act. So if a sheriff has concerns about that, there is no requirement to enforce it, and that's the way it should be. The courts will say when we need to start enforcing or when we need to stop enforcing. Let the courts do their job.
Let's talk about the other big job as far as government is concerned, and that is the budget, of course. $3.7 billion surplus reported for fiscal 2023. Also, you got $14 billion in federal COVID money, ARPA money.
Yep.
Two things. You got to be happy with the surplus, of course.
Yep.
The state really got a lot of help from the ARPA funds. Those are going to be going away. Is it good budgeting, or just did you get the lifeline from the feds when you needed it the most?
It was good budgeting. The ARPA dollars and the COVID funds were extra. If you talk to Controller Mendoza, she'll tell you that we got the bill backlog down and paid off before we received $1 of federal funds. And that had been something she's been working on for many years. We've made very responsible decisions, particularly from 2019 forward. And I think even though one-time federal dollars aren't going to be there, the kind of base that we've provided in not overspending on new programs, we've used surpluses to pay off debt rather than start new programs, and that's going to provide us a better baseline even if we see another economic downturn or even if we see a slower supply of federal funds into our budget. We've maintained the kind of discipline that voters have been asking for many years, and that's something I'm most proud of as a state rep and now a state senator.
So where do you see your priorities then? I mean, because we always hear that the state wants to invest more in education. Mm-hmm. We've obviously invested a lot in public health in the last 2 years. Education, including post-education, your colleges, trying to make the Illinois university system stronger and retain more of these Illinois students to stay in state. I mean, is that still priority one?
They are, and what we've done over the past couple of years is allowed that budgeting to be easier. We made a commitment to add an additional $350 million every year for the K-12 evidence-based funding. That is a difficult thing to do if you're not having increased revenue and if you have continued debt. The fact that we're able to put additional money into the debt, get it off the books, frees up money going forward so we're not making interest payments, we're not making other debt payments. We can put that money towards the $350 million each year. We do the same for making sure our unemployment insurance system is strong when the next downturn comes. We've paid off that debt completely without an increase or without a large increase to employers or asking employees to cut benefits. So the things we've done have prepared us to invest in K-12 education. One of the big pushes I think we'll see this year is investment in child care, access, and affordability. The business community is looking for it. Parents are looking for it because they want to go back to work, but they need a place for their child to get early childhood education and just, supervision.
Is that one of the critical infrastructure pieces that you see is childcare right now? Because
Yep.
it factors into everything. It factors into people's employment. It factors into so many different issues affecting everyone.
Absolutely. If you talk to businesses now, because of our historically low unemployment, everyone is looking for workers. And one of the biggest factors preventing people from entering the workforce is either that they can't find someone to take care of their children during the day, or they have the ability to send them someplace, but the cost of that isn't worth the cost. It's going to neutralize, why take the job, right? The income you're going to get from the job is all going to go straight to daycare. And so we need to have a better system that allows people to affordably send their children so they can go to work if they want to.
Personal priorities. What do you see in 2023 as the newly elected state senator for the Quad Cities?
So the biggest one we already talked about is the budget. I mentioned last week at a forum that it's a minor trauma for me. I came in when we hadn't had a budget for more than 2 years.
Right.
And that is always now the top priority for me, making sure we get something passed. The second thing would be to try to make sure we're getting our budget priorities and our funding to the local communities. A lot of local communities feel left out. They're not getting assistance for road projects or for other capital needs. And I want to make sure that I'm opening those lines of communications, helping prepare those communities to apply for grants, to apply for dollars, and bring those back here locally.
I remember one pet project that you really had hope for to get some state attention was the Milan Steel Dam.
Yep.
The dangerous current that's in that area. We've had fatalities in that area, very sad stories where people were enjoying a weekend and it just ended tragically. What are you hoping along that line? I know it's a very specific area that you're interested in, but it does affect people directly.
It does, and we actually obtained the first funding for environmental study and engineering study of that area to provide some possible alternatives to make that area safer. That was funded, I believe, in the fiscal year 22 budget. I'm not exactly sure the year. Okay. It was $800,000. The Department of Natural Resources is putting that out for bids, and they're going to do that phase one, or what, I'm not sure what they call it, but a design study to see what the options might be. When that's completed, then it'll be a conversation to find out which of those alternatives, if any, are the best for that area to try to make it safer.
You're now elected as state senator after being representative for, is it 3 terms?
3 terms.
3 terms. Tell me what the difference is going to be for you as senator, other than geography.
That really is the biggest for me. The way I do the job certainly isn't going to change. The process is fairly similar. You introduce a bill, you send it through committee, get advocates and support, and then hopefully pass it on the floor. The toughest part may be working with some of my former colleagues to get something that started over in the Senate. But it is a larger geography, and will take up a little bit more time to get to each of those new communities. I feel I've done well so far, but that's certainly going to be a challenge.
Like I said, you do wear 2 hats because you're also the head of the Democratic Party in Rock Island County. Do the Democrats have a lot to run on because of the budget surpluses and the fiscal situation in Illinois, which was devastatingly bad just, what, 3 years ago?
Absolutely. You know, we've made a commitment. There's a new generation of Democrats in Springfield, and we're working with a Democratic governor that understands the type of discipline we need to get our fiscal house back in order. And so we made that commitment to the voters. We recognized we're a party that listens, does listen to the voters. They said we want a budget, we want a responsible budget, we want government to work again. And that's what Democrats have been providing here in Illinois. And so I don't see that changing in the near future. You know, we've got Greg Johnson now as state representative. I think he's committed to that as well. Not going to speak for him, but he wants government to work. And we're going to continue that process. I think our Democrats are going to prove that we are a party that's able to govern. We see a lot of dysfunction in the Republican Party, that focus more on principles and not necessarily getting things accomplished, either in Springfield or Washington, D.C.
I would say that the Minority Leader Tony McCombie, who you have worked with because you were both state representatives for this area, would disagree with you there.
I think she would. I think she would.
Are you looking forward to working with her in her new role? Because it is kind of interesting to have that type of representation in our area when that used to be maybe a Collar County representative or somebody not necessarily from Western Illinois.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited for her to be a leader. I'm glad that we do have a good downstate voice leading a caucus. The trouble is that the caucus has taken a stand almost against everything that Democrats have done, even though Republicans have traditionally been the ones asking for balanced budgets. We've been passing budgets that at the time were balanced, and it actually turns out are bringing in, as you mentioned, billions of dollars in surplus. So we've been passing responsible budgets, and yet the Republicans continue to claim that we're being fiscally irresponsible. So I know there's a political message that she has to send, but I'm hopeful that she's going to be a governing partner when things need to get done.
We looked at all the restrictions that happened during COVID. We saw all the changes that have happened over the last 2.5 years. Now, you've got 2020 vision now to look back. Did Illinois go too far? I mean, have we learned anything from this pandemic as far as closures are concerned and how school districts actually really had to shut down? And you take a look, like you said, across the river where things were done differently, and they've had successes as well. I mean, what have we learned over the last 2.5 years?
I think we've learned that you need to have basically an educated Department of Public Health that's funded and has procedures to handle the unexpected. I think the governor made some good decisions early on to protect Illinois. I think when you look at the statistics for excess deaths down the road, you're going to find that Illinois did better, particularly after the vaccines were introduced than other surrounding states. And I think the economy has not suffered the same way that many of folks predicted. We're still, like as you mentioned, running surpluses. We still have historically low unemployment, even after all the unemployment benefits that some Republicans were complaining about have run out. We're not keeping people at home or incentivizing people to be at home anymore. We still have record low unemployment and jobs to be filled. So I think we are going to come out of this well. You may quibble over whether we should have gotten rid of a mask mandate in hospitals a week or two before or a month. Those things are not as material as the bigger issues, but I think it was the right decision early on, as when we didn't know anything was, or didn't know exactly what was going to happen with the virus.
Illinois State Senator Mike Halpin, Democrat from Rock Island. Now, in a moment, public television looking for your help. But first, here's Laura Adams with a list of great ideas that will get you out and about.
This is Out and About for January 27th through February 3rd. Registration is now open for the 8th running of the Frozen Fat Fondo Fest. Riders will start at Credit Island Lodge. The endurance bike ride is scheduled for January 28th at 8 a.m., rain, snow, or shine. The Bettendorf Public Library's Community Connections program present Ghost Kisses, the fascinating paranormal history of the Quad Cities, with Michael McCarty, February 3rd at 2 p.m. The Artists of African Descent exhibit at Quad City Arts is holding a free gallery reception February 3rd from 6 to 8, where artists will be present and refreshments will be served. The exhibit will be on display from February 3rd through March 17th. Comedy Sports Quad Cities performs each Friday and Saturday night at the Spotlight Studio in Moline. Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat and The Cabaret takes place January 28th and 29th at North Scott High School starting at noon. We Will Rock You, the musical featuring more than 20 hit songs by Queen, continues to bring down the house at Circa 21. The Black Box Theater in downtown Moline opens Natural Shocks by Lauren Gunderson, running February 2nd through 11th. The musical Hairspray is on stage at the Adler Theater January 31st at 7:30 p.m. And Tom Foolery on Tremont present the comedy of Dan Alton on January 29th at 7 at Renwick Mansion. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. If you're watching our Thursday night broadcast, you have just a few more hours to make bids in WQPT's The Auction at Your House. I encourage you to check out the details at WQPT.org. It's just one way you can help public television in the cities. But how does WQPT help you? We talked with WQPT General Manager Dawn Schmidt. So auction at your house concludes at 10 o'clock on Thursday.
Correct.
It's been going on for a couple days, and what's interesting is that this is kind of a neat way to get people involved and to raise money.
Yes, and it was actually a brainchild or a step back in time that we, because of COVID, because we weren't able to have our auction during Champagne on the Rocks. So this is a way for us to have one of our biggest fundraisers and involve more of the community.
I think a lot of people would say, well, wait a second, why do I have to help out public television when my taxpayer dollars is already doing that?
Absolutely, and we do appreciate all the tax dollars that we do get, but it provides only a small portion of what it costs to, because it's $180 per hour for public television, for WQPT's public television. So we depend on the members and viewers to provide the difference.
Yeah, I think people may not really recognize that, but not only is it what's on the broadcast channel, WQPT has a great deal of outreach, particularly to children in the community. I mean, that's a really important part of the fundraising effort as well.
Absolutely. Last year, WQPT provided over 3,000 books to children in the area. We also do a lot of outreach. Last year was our Summer of Possibilities, and so we went to about 56 different libraries in the community, from Sterling down to Macomb, over to Burlington, and up to, oh gosh, what's north of here?
Well, Sterling. I mean,
yeah, Sterling.
I mean, you may want to go further to the east. Where do you go far? I mean, Kewanee, in that area?
Kewanee, yeah. Actually, our furthest is Rock Falls.
Okay, all right. So tell me, because I think a lot of people don't realize it, because they think, oh, it's Quad Cities Public Television. It is a huge broadcast area, and you do have to reach all of the customers, which you have, throughout the entire area of Western Illinois.
Absolutely. And our capital campaign, our Signal Improvement Project, helped us to expand into these new areas.
People may not have realized the extent of that. What did the capital campaign do as far as your broadcast signal is?
Well, it improved our signal, and so now we go up almost to Galena and then down to Macomb before we would stop at Monmouth. And of course, Sterling and over to Burlington. We stopped before Burlington. So it also helped provide new equipment for us. So we were able to improve our technology, because technology is always changing. And so we're poised just to be ready for whatever comes next.
It's always been said, especially from the staff at WQPT, there's a certain pride in minimalism. The fact that you have to make this TV station work with very little staff and very frugal spending, studios that aren't as big as perhaps some of the public television stations in other states. It's the little engine that could. Is it still that way, and how difficult is it to manage something that is that small when it comes to public television?
It is that small. We are one of the smallest public television stations in the country. We've made some tough decisions over the years, and we've had to reduce our staff, but now we're starting to grow ourselves back. So we've added 2 new staff members this year. That's helped to bring us back into the community and help us with our outreach, allowed us to do Summer of Possibilities.
Yeah, and it does make a difference. And talking about outreach, I mean, Ready to Learn Conference is one of the biggest things you do in the spring, and it's coming up in April.
Yes.
Who can get involved in that right now? And they should be thinking about it right now.
Absolutely. We haven't had the Ready to Learn Conference for several years now. So it's going to be open to teachers. It's going to be open to preschools and preschool teachers. Melissa Gravert is our education director. She is coordinating this, and she's working with Western Illinois University's education department as well. So she's a great person, and she's going to start putting out more information very soon to start letting people know how to register.
Well, it's interesting because the Ready to Learn events that you have, a wide range of topics, and if you think about it, at this point where we're post-pandemic, it's more important than ever to have some of these featured speakers and some of these topics that people are going, yeah, I need to know more about this.
Yes, absolutely. Teachers have had it very tough from COVID, and so this is an opportunity for us to give them affordable, ongoing education.
Let's talk about the other big event, and it's more historic than anything else, but this year marks 40 years for WQPT.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is a huge accomplishment for a television station that started at Black Hawk College, then had a period of time where wasn't certain what was going to happen with the license, and now is working with Western Illinois University. It's been a heck of a 40 years.
It has. We've had lots of challenges and lots of great successes. So, but yes, our annual gala is coming back. We haven't had it since COVID, so it's been gone for 3 years already. So in April, we're going to have our annual gala and kick off 40 years of fantastic public television for the Quad City area.
Why has it been successful? How is it able to last? I mean, I would think the outreach and the community relationships that WQPT has created has really helped.
The people, definitely. We have had an incredibly dedicated staff through the years who have had a passion for public television. Sorry, getting a little choked up there. So yeah, and then the people, the community, our claim to fame, or the one thing that we really stand behind, is of the community and being there for people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and a love of broadcasting, but it is, like we said, so much more than just broadcasting. The outreach is really important. So let's be honest. I mean, if somebody wants to be part of Auction is at Your House, they can find out more at WQPT. But
Absolutely.
Go to that website anyhow, because the website really does explain all of the things that are going on. I mean, give us your best pitch. I mean, people should go to that website tonight.
Absolutely. It's a great way to learn about WQPT, what we've done in the past, what we stand for, how important the community is to us, and how we give back.
Dawn Schmidt, WQPT General Manager. If you're joining us Thursday night, check out WQPT.org and find something to bid on in the Auction is at Your House. And if you're joining us on WVIK or watching one of our rebroadcasts, check out the website anyway to make sure that you can find ways to make the most of your local public television station. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory have been serving Quad City families and veterans since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds, and are proud supporters of WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.